Warm greetings to all uncles, aunts, brothers, and sisters listening on the Sentiments of Old Age channel. Mother slumped over the table, her voice exhausted. I'm worn out, Han. I froze. The once sharp-tongued, bitter woman now looked like an old rag wrung dry. Her head rested beside the cold meal, her breathing faint. All the anger, resentment, and blame shattered like a sudden downpour hitting parched earth. I stood up, slowly folding the letter and the photograph. I don't blame you, but from today, I'll live for myself, for my son. I'm no longer the daughter-in-law who endures, nor the daughter hiding in someone else's shadow. I'm Han, a mother, a woman, the biological child of Mr. Min. I turned away, hearing the faint sobs behind me but not looking back. Not out of coldness, but because I understood. Forgiveness no longer lay in anyone else's hands. It lay in my own choice to go on living. When I got home, my son was asleep. My mother still sat sewing by the oil lamp. I sat down and asked softly, "Mother, why did you adopt me even though you knew I wasn't your own child?" She looked up, smiling gently, "Because I saw in your eyes a child who needed love. Blood ties are fate, but love is a choice. I chose to raise you not because anyone forced me." I threw my arms around her, tears streaming down my face. Amid all the wreckage, I still had a home, a mother without shared blood who embraced me without reason. A week later, I received a call from the hospital. Mr. Min, my biological father, asked to see me alone. His voice was slow, weak but firm. "I want to tell you everything once and for all." That afternoon it drizzled lightly. I wore a thin coat, a conical hat, and went to the hospital room. Under the yellow light, his face looked aged, his gray hair disheveled. No longer the powerful man of the past, just a father sitting there like someone waiting to apologize. I closed the door and pulled out a chair. He looked down, his voice trembling. "Thank you for coming. I know I've been wrong, silent for too long." I asked softly, "Why did you never acknowledge me? Not even once?" He bowed his head. "Because I was a coward. I was afraid. I thought acknowledging you would upend everything. Your mother, Mrs. Tu, would never forgive me. And Khan, how could he accept the truth when the girl who shared his father was also his wife?" I was stunned. Khan was the son of my father and Mrs. Tu. I was the child of my father and a woman named Wa. We shared the same blood. My heart tightened, my hands clutching my head. "Why didn't you stop it? Why let us marry?" He spoke softly, as if confessing. "I was scared. Everyone thought you were adopted. When your mother sent you to me, Mrs. Tu didn't know yet. Later, when she found out, she kept it secret. She said, 'Once they're married, don't let anyone know this.'" I sat there in silence, staring at my trembling hands. I was stunned, unable to comprehend. How could a father stand by as his own daughter grew up, then allow her to be married to her half-brother without saying a word? I shot to my feet, my voice shaking with grief and rage. "So all the years of my suffering were because of your silence. You let me become a stranger in your own house, despised, treated like something to be discarded." Mr. Min bowed his head, his shoulders trembling, tears spilling down his face. "I was wrong. I thought silence would keep everything peaceful, but I never imagined the price would be so cruel." I let out a hollow laugh. "That price nearly cost me my first child's life, because my stepmother poisoned me. I lived every day in fear, thinking I was nothing but a thorn in everyone's eyes. I endured, I forgave, and in the end it was all because of the truth you hid." He looked up, his voice pleading. "Han, if you cannot call me father, then at least let me atone. I want to leave you the last piece of land in the village, so you'll have something of your own, so you won't have to depend on anyone else. So you'll know I never truly abandoned you." I froze. It was the plot of land Mrs. Tu had tried to sell for years with no buyers, barren, far from the village. Yet to me, it was all that remained from a man who was both my father-in-law and my biological father. I stared at him for a long time. "You think I'd want anything from the man who stole both my childhood and my youth?" He fell silent. I drew a deep breath, tears welling but my voice firm. "I don't need land, and I don't need apologies. What I need is simply to live as a normal person, not patched together between identities. If you truly want to atone, then live decently for the rest of your days. As for me, I'll live for myself and for my son. That is enough." I stood and walked toward the door. Behind me, Mr. Min broke down in sobs. The first time I had ever seen the once powerful man cry like an abandoned child. That night, I sat by my son's bed, holding him in my arms. He slept soundly, lips moving gently as if dreaming something tender. My mother came into the room, sat beside me, and stroked my back. Do you not hate him? She asked. I shook my head. I do, mother. But what good does endless hatred bring? Blood without love is nothing but a name. I forgive him not for his peace, but for my own. My mother smiled softly. Then you've truly grown up. I looked down at my son and whispered, I'll teach him to love but not blindly, to trust but with understanding, and to forgive only when someone truly changes. The next afternoon, the sky was heavy with clouds, as if rain were near. I was hanging laundry in the yard when my mother returned, carrying a bag of vegetables, her face showing something unusual. Is something wrong, mother? I asked. She looked at me for a long while, then set the bag down on the wooden table and pulled out a small slip of paper. Someone asked me to give this to you. I took it and unfolded it. The shaky, uneven handwriting made me freeze. Can I see you just once? I am Wa. Tomorrow at 4 p.m., at the Khoi Nguyen Tea House, by the Antin Bridge. My mouth went dry. It was her. My mother nodded. She asked around at the market, found me through some of the elders. I was surprised too. She said she didn't dare face you, but she wanted to say something, and begged me to give you this note. I clenched the paper in my hand. 1,000 questions screamed inside me. Why did you leave? Why come back after nearly 30 years? Do you know how I grew up? And yet, deep in my heart, there was still a small corner that longed to see the woman who had given me life, just once. The next afternoon, I left my son in my mother's care. Before I went, she looked at me, her eyes speaking silently. If it hurts too much, don't force yourself. But if you can, let it end in clarity. I arrived at the Khoi Nguyen Tea House 10 minutes early. It sat by the river, draped in bright red bougainvillea, with a few old tables and chairs and the faint scent of tea drifting in the breeze. At exactly 4 o'clock, a woman wearing a conical hat stepped inside. She wore a brown ao-dai and carried a faded cloth bag. When she raised her head, I recognized the eyes instantly, just like mine, deep, sorrowful, and heavy with regret. The word, mother, caught in my throat. I could only stare. She pulled out a chair, her hands trembling, her voice soft as the wind. Thank you for coming. I nodded. Only after a long silence did she speak again. I'm sorry. For 30 years I didn't dare return. I was afraid. Afraid to see you grown and not call me mother, afraid of your hatred. I wrote hundreds of letters, then tore them apart. I stood outside your school gates, watching you from afar, but never had the courage to approach. My voice broke. Why did you abandon me? Why give birth only to leave me? Why let someone else raise me, letting me grow up not even knowing who I was? She lowered her head, tears dripping onto the table. When she gave birth to me, Wa was still very young, poor, and shunned by my father's family. She had no job, no home, no one by her side. She thought handing me to my biological father would give me a better life, so I wouldn't grow up struggling as she had. But he didn't keep me. He passed me on to be raised by someone else. I asked, my voice trembling, then why did you bring me into this world? She didn't answer. Instead, she quietly placed an old blue notebook, its corners worn, into my hands. I opened it. Page after page was filled with her handwriting. Today you turned 5. Heard you did well in 7th grade. Saw you at the market in a white ao-dai. You must be in 12th grade now. Tears poured down my face. I had thought she had forgotten me. But all along, she had been watching from afar, tracing every step of my growing up, unable to come close, leaving her longing pressed between the pages of a diary. I looked up. And now you've come back, for what? She clasped my hands, thin, rough, calloused. I have late-stage cancer. I don't have much time left. I don't ask for forgiveness, only to see you a few times, to hold my grandchild once. Then I can leave this world in peace. I froze. My heart felt crushed, but in that pain there was a flicker of tenderness. Resting my hand on the diary, I whispered, you can come stay with us. I can't promise I'll call you mother easily, but I'll let you be here until the end. She burst into tears. For the first time, before me was not the shadow of the woman who had left, but a mother, flawed, guilty, yet still a mother. 3 days later, I brought Wa to live with my foster mother. One had quietly raised me as her own, the other had carried me in her womb. 2 women, 2 fates, sitting at the same table, no bitterness, only glances of sympathy and forgiveness. In her last days, Wa busied herself sewing tiny clothes and pretty scarves for her grandchild. Then one October morning, as the sunlight tilted across the porch, she quietly passed away. No more guilt, no more hiding. At her final moment, she held my hand, smiled, and whispered, "Thank you for letting me call you my child." I embraced her tightly. There was no anger left, only compassion and gratitude. Late as it was, I finally knew where I belonged. After the funeral, I tidied the house. My son was 8 months old, babbling, pulling himself up on unsteady feet. Every time I heard him murmur, "Ma, Ma," my heart filled with hope. My foster mother, the woman who had raised me since birth, was as gentle and quiet as ever. She never spoke of the past, never urged me to return to Khan. She only reminded me of one thing: you must live for yourself. No one can live your life for you. Khan still came to visit our son each week. He spoke less now, no more desperate pleas. He simply played with his child, then left. One late winter afternoon, he handed me a document: the decision to sell his parents' old house and buy a plot of land on the outskirts, to build a small home. He said, "If one day you wish to come back, there'll be a room for you and our son. If not, I only hope you'll live strong, because you deserve it." I held the paper in silence. For the first time in months, my heart felt at peace. I transferred to a job closer to the kindergarten so I could fetch my son more easily. Days at work, nights holding him in my arms. Every step careful, no more reckless, no more blind. Once, carrying him to the market, an old woman selling vegetables asked, "Where's your husband?" I smiled, probably learning how to be a decent man. The old woman chuckled and asked no more. And my heart felt light as air. That Lunar New Year, I didn't return to my husband's family, nor to my distant hometown. I chose to stay with my mother, helping her clean the altar, wrap bonchung, and sweep the yard. On New Year's Eve, I carried my son out to the porch and looked up at the sky, ablaze with fireworks. I whispered, "A new year has come. My son will grow up truly happy. No more tears, no more sorrow, only joy and kindness." The child giggled, his tiny arms wrapped around my cheeks. In that moment, I realized that as long as I had my son and my mother, I already had everything I needed. That spring, I officially signed the divorce papers. Not because love had disappeared, but because I knew some cracks can never be mended. Khan quietly signed as well, then softly asked, "Will you be happy in the future?" I smiled and nodded. I already am. Happiness, for me, no longer depended on a man. It was about realizing that I deserved love and had the courage to live for myself. Khan lowered his head, no blame, no plea. We both understood. Sometimes love doesn't need to last forever, it just needs to end at the right time, leaving behind the last bit of respect. 3 months later, my mother, my son, and I moved into a small house by the river, with a tiny garden, rows of vegetables, and the sound of children's laughter. I planted succulents, kept a few fish in jars at the porch. In the mornings, I brewed hot tea and listened to my son babbling happily to his grandmother. Family, to me then, no longer meant a perfect picture of husband, wife, and child. It simply meant those who chose to stay together with honest hearts. I had walked through many storms. A marriage that seemed solid but was built on lies. A husband's family full of secrets. An identity hidden for 30 years. And a biological mother who returned only at the end of her life. All of it like a tempest, yet I did not collapse, because I understood that no one can live my life for me, and the past cannot change the future. I chose to let go, to be free. I chose to forgive, to lighten my heart. And I chose to live bravely, even wounded, but never defeated. Han's life may have held more tears than smiles, more bitterness than sweetness. Yet what mattered most was the way she stood up again after it all. Betrayed, hidden from, hurt, but instead of hatred, she chose to go on with forgiveness. We cannot choose where we are born, but we can choose how we live. Do not let the past steal the future. A woman, at any age, deserves happiness, deserves love, and has the right to be the author of her own life. Life will always bring upheavals, moments when it feels unbearable. But all it takes is one small faith, one reason to keep walking, like the bond of motherhood, like the dream of living true to oneself, and every storm can be endured. We don't need to be great heroes. Just living honestly each day, standing on our own 2 feet, and believing tomorrow can be different, that is already great strength. Dear friends, if this story has touched your heart, please subscribe to the Sentiments of Old Age channel to continue journeying with us through these simple yet deeply moving stories of life. Every subscription, every share, is encouragement for us to bring you even more heartfelt tales. Let us listen together, feel together, and continue life's journey with lighter hearts. Thank you sincerely, and see you again in the next videos. Wishing you peace, health, and happiness.